Karl Marx. Wow, now there's a name that gets a reaction, right? For most of us, it probably brings up some pretty strong and, let's be honest, often negative images. But what if there's a lot more to him than we usually give him credit for? So you might be asking, why on earth should we still bother with a guy from the 19th century? I mean, his ideas have been tied to some of the absolute biggest disasters of the 20th century. And that's a fair question, but that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. We're going to take a fresh look at his ideas and see if they still matter in our world. And look, it's no surprise that most people just want to dismiss him. When you hear Marx, you immediately think of, well, disastrously planned economies, brutal dictatorships, a total lack of freedom. It's an incredibly powerful and, frankly, a very heavy historical association. Okay, but let's just try a little thought experiment. What if we stop thinking of Marx as the guy who had the cure? What if instead we think of him as a guide whose diagnosis of capitalism's problems is, well, shockingly relevant, even today? What if he was brilliant at pointing out what was wrong, even if his ideas on how to fix it were, well, a total mess? All right, so let's get into it. Marx really built his whole critique around what he saw as these deep, fundamental flaws in the capitalist system. We're going to break down 5 of his biggest, most powerful insights. Okay, first up, modern work is alienated. Now, Marx had this really beautiful idea that work could be a source of our greatest joy. Seriously, it's how we put what's good inside of us out into the world. But, and this is a big but, under modern capitalism, with its crazy specialization, he argued that work often just disconnects us from what we're actually making. You know, you become this tiny little cog in a giant faceless machine, and you lose any real sense of how you're contributing to the bigger picture. And that feeling, that leads to what he called Entfremdung in German, or alienation. It's that nagging feeling, that gap between what you do all day and who you feel you really are. You just don't see yourself in your work, and there's this deep part of you that just feels unfulfilled. Okay, number 2, modern work is deeply insecure. Marx pointed out that capitalism can treat human beings as just another resource. You're an expendable piece of the puzzle that can be let go the second a new technology comes along or the moment costs need to be cut. Poof, you're gone. And this really gets to the emotional heart of his argument, that fear, the fear of being cast out, of being told you're no longer needed. That's a deep, deep human terror. And Marx argued that the appeal of communism wasn't just about economics, it was an emotional cry, an answer to this profound longing we all have for a secure place in the world's heart. All right, number 3. This is probably the one you've heard of. Workers get paid little while the capitalists get rich. Marx argued that capitalism is basically built on a giant conflict of interest. For the owners to get richer, the workers have to be paid as little as possible. That profit, it's not just created out of thin air. It's skimmed right off the top of the talent and hard work of the workforce. So you've got these 2 totally different ways of looking at profit, right? On one side, the capitalist view is that profit is the reward for taking risks, for being clever and innovative. But Marx, he saw it in much, much harsher terms. He basically called it theft. For him, profit wasn't something you created, it was something you extracted from the people actually doing the work. He even had a special name for this, ursprüngliche Akkumulation, primitive accumulation. It sounds complicated, but it's really just the process of squeezing wages as low as you can to get the biggest possible profit margin. You pay a worker one price to make something, and then you turn around and sell it for way, way more. Marx didn't pull any punches. He flat out called this exploitation. Moving on to flaw number 4. Capitalism is just really, really unstable. You know how tech people talk about a bug versus a feature? Well, Marx argued that economic crises aren't bugs in the system. They're a feature. They're not rare, freak accidents. He believed they are baked right into the DNA of capitalism itself. And here's the really weird part, the paradox that just fascinated Marx. Capitalist crises are strange. They're crises of abundance, not of shortage. Think about that. Our economies don't collapse because we don't have enough stuff. They collapse because we make too much stuff, way more than we can actually consume. I mean, just think about it. We are so incredibly productive, we could literally give everyone a car, a house, access to a decent school, good healthcare. We have the capacity. And this fact just drove Marx crazy. It both enraged him and inspired him. We have all this power to create, and yet we still have unemployment and poverty. It's like we've built a system that's too good for its own good. Okay, so for the fifth and final flaw, this one might surprise you. Marx didn't just think capitalism was bad for the workers. He actually believed it was bad for the capitalists, too. He argued that the system inflicts psychological damage on everyone, whether you're at the top or the bottom. He called this Warren fetishism, or commodity fetishism. It's basically what happens when economic interests become the absolute center of your life. All of a sudden, everything gets a price tag. You start thinking about marriage in terms of financial security, friendships become about networking. He believed this obsession with money and things prevents us from having deep, honest, truly human relationships. So, after tearing capitalism apart like that, what was his alternative? I mean, Marx didn't just complain, he also gave us a glimpse of what he thought a better, more utopian world could actually look like. In the famous Communist Manifesto, he and his collaborator Engels laid out a bunch of ideas that were pretty radical. They were talking about things like no more private property, no more inherited wealth, a super steep income tax, centralizing things like banking and transportation, and, of course, free public education for everyone. But it wasn't just about dry policy. At its heart, his vision was about unlocking human potential. He had this dream of a world where you weren't stuck in one single box your whole life. A world where, as he put it, you could hunt in the morning, fish in the afternoon, without ever having to be just a hunter or just a fisherman. You'd be free to be, well, everything. So, where does that leave us? This brings us right to the big takeaway. How should we think about Karl Marx today, especially when we know that his proposed solutions, well, they led to absolute disaster? Here's a way to think about it that might help. Imagine Marx as a brilliant doctor, but one practicing in the very early days of medicine. He was incredible at diagnosing the disease. I mean, his analysis of alienation, insecurity, exploitation, all of it, it was absolutely spot on and still feels incredibly relevant. But the cures he prescribed? Total catastrophe. The medicine was poison. So here's the point, the real takeaway. Maybe we should all be Marxists in one specific way. We should agree with his diagnosis of our problems. We can use his powerful critique as a tool to understand the troubles we still face today. And then, it's up to us to find new cures that will actually work this time. Ultimately, Marx left us with this powerful call to action you see here. He wasn't some armchair academic who just wanted to interpret the world. He wanted to change it. And his diagnosis, if you separate it from his deeply flawed prescription, is still one of the most powerful tools we have for thinking about how we might do just that. So the question he really leaves for all of us is, what changes are we going to make?